I didn't turn my light on. That's much better. Well, welcome to the new studio. I guess you can call it a studio. We have transformed this corner and moved all my stuff out from the other room, and we put it in here, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So what we're gonna do, since again I have been on the water, we're getting back on the water here in a couple weeks. I did a series on TikTok, and well, TikTok's getting banned. But I did a series on my TikTok, which if it doesn't get banned, and because this video will be recorded either the weekend it does get banned or after, or it'll get uploaded. If it doesn't get banned, make sure you go follow me over there. If it does, I'm still going to be very active on my Instagram and my Facebook as well. So make sure you head over there. And then if some other social media app blows up, I might head over there. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll always be here. We'll always be on Instagram. Those are two that I'm definitely will always be on. But a series that's done really well on TikTok that I'm going to start doing here on YouTube is a series where I ran through my setups for a bunch of different lures that I like to throw. So my chatterbait setup, my drop shot setup, my jig setup, my there's one more that I did that did really well. And then all those got like 20,000 views. So we're gonna do that here in a little bit longer form video, so I can get a little bit more in depth with it, and you can see what I'm talking about. And then even if you don't want to buy the products that I'm showing, you have an idea of what to go look for. Again, I'm not no professional. I'm just a average high school angler. I'm not no better than anybody else. But before we do that, let's go through a little walkthrough of the setup, because pretty much all of it's in the frame here. So starting up top, some boxes from some of my favorite products, some reels, the Johnson dry boots, and then a fly rod that you see here. It's a 12-foot 6-weight fly rod, and then right here is a cane pole that is super, super old. Right here is a trout. This was one of my granddaddy's biggest trout he caught out of a stream. I don't know exactly how big it is, but it looks great, and it remembers him quite a bit. Bass Cat license plate, and then a fly some dude made for me up in Alaska, which looks super cool. Right here we got our big level rod sign. Looks fantastic, big LED sign. Oh my gosh, I love them. Lowrance graph, a little space where I'm able to put my rods, the Bass Mooch sign, another LED sign, and then my pellet board or my peg board that you saw in there. And then I have some storage for my boat tackle, which is currently in here right now, littered all over here in the floor. But everything you see is what there is. And then around the room, like these shelves extend way on out. I have some more stuff that's not fishing related, some hobbies that I'm into. But I think today would be a great day because it's winter time, and this technique is absolutely blowing up, and it's already blown up. I don't know if it's at its peak yet. It may be at its peak. It may already pass its peak, but it's blowing up, and it's going to continue to blow up even more. So we're going to talk about my jig head minnow setup. Once I whack the camera with the rod that I've been throwing, that I've had a lot of luck with, and also the rod that I have seen has been the most successful for me. That I prefer throwing, the baits that I prefer throwing, the heads I prefer throwing, and just everything, and a little bit of tips, because I'm not very good at this. I'm still learning quite a bit, but we are getting there. I'm gonna leave the rod sleeve on, but we will run through it, and then as the weeks go on, I don't know if I would do the Tuesday, Thursday stuff. We will upload more setup videos for my jig setup, my work do a longer form chatterbait setup video and things like that. But jig head minnow, what is it? If you don't know what it is, you've been sleeping under a rock. It's what is absolutely taken over the forward-facing sonar world, the bass fishing world in general. And it's just literally a minnow style bait on a jig head, and that's all it is, literally all it is. And all you do is cast it out, let it sink to your desired depth, and you just jig it and reel at the same time and jig your rod, and it makes that minnow flutter in the water and makes that tail kick and makes it roll depending on the bait that you're using, and it looks really good, and it just catches suspended fish and fish on the bottom like crazy. It catches schooling fish. I've got schooling fish with it in all sorts of different situations, but A lot of the technique, so you can really use any spinning rod with this that you want. That you go ask a lot of people are going to have a different opinion on it. So there's people that want to throw a medium, there's people that want to throw a light, there's people that want to throw a medium light, there's one guy that I've seen that throws a medium heavy with this technique. But setup is pretty important. So the setup that I run, again, it's sponsored, absolutely. But this is what I feel, because before this, I was using whatever I could find on a budget. And this is still, if for tournament fishermen, this is on a budget. This is cheaper than your sometimes $400 rods that you buy otherwise. Because the NGX series is only $170, and it is definitely tournament grade quality, and it's just a great rod in general. Ranked the best all-around rod by wiredtofish.com this year. But the model that I throw the 7-1 medium light fast. So the NGX series, Hank Cherry only designed 3 spinning rods. So he designed a medium moderate for heavier spinning applications, Nico rigs, wacky rigs, shaky heads, things like that. And then he designed a light action, which I'm guessing, I don't know what it's used for, like super finessey presentations. And then he designed the medium light. So you can fit a lot of categories into all 3 of those applications. I like the medium light because from what I have found out, compared to the rods that I was used to throwing, was the NGX series, the blank in them, the 40-30 or the 30-40, it's a little bit stiffer. So it doesn't have as much bend. So this rod has about the bend of a medium rod, maybe. So they're a little bit stiffer than if you went and bought a different medium light. Like the OGX series medium light, it's an extra fast. It bends a lot more than this one does. And I like throwing it because if I wasn't throwing the NGX, I probably would pick up a lighter medium. But for now, I'm loving the 7-1 medium light. You get a little bit of extra casting distance with that little bit of extra length. Super lightweight. You're able to jig this rod all day and not have any fatigue at all. And it's just absolutely fantastic rod. I'm guessing the light action is also a very, very good setup. I kind of want to try it out, but I don't have it yet. But we will see when we get there. Now for reel, whatever spinning reel works for you, I'm loving the LSR1 right now. The LSR1 spinning reel, the drag on it is incredible. I fell in love with the drag on this reel because for the price, you're not going to find much of a better drag system. It sounds a little bit different, but the body frame work is also super strong, and it just looks really good paired up with the NGX series as well. It only comes in a 3,000 size, so you're able to muscle those fish into the boat, and it's been working great. The line, so line is probably one of the most important things to me whenever I'm throwing the jig head minnow, and for that reason is mainly leader length when you're tying on your fluorocarbon leader. So on all my spinning rod applications, I'm throwing 10-pound Zing Katana braid or 15-pound depending on what I'm fishing. Like on this, I have 10-pound Zing Katana braid. I use a 8-pound fluorocarbon leader, and what I do with the leader is I tie it a lot shorter than a lot of guys do. So I'm only tying a leader that's maybe that long because one, maybe a little bit long, so maybe like a 5-foot leader at the most. So one, whenever you want your knot to hit your guides as little as possible, because it kind of messes up the action. So if you tie on a 15-foot leader, it's gonna fiddle with that action a little bit too. Braid has 0 stretch, so when you're trying to jig that bait and get it to roll, whenever you're trying to get that bait to roll, whenever you're jigging it, the braid has 0 stretch. So the closer you can get that braid, because fluorocarbon has a little bit of stretch, it doesn't have as much as mono, but it has a little bit of stretch. If you can get that braid closer to your bait to eliminate some of that stretch, it'll make that bait roll just a little bit better. And that's what I found out as well. It's been working great for me since I started doing that. But whatever setup works for you, it's a very universal technique that you can throw on pretty much anything you want. Now, baits. The main bait that I have found love lately is... Actually, no. Before we do baits, let's do heads. Let's do jig heads first. Let me bust out my my terminal box, which is all the way at the bottom of my boxes. So I got to take all my boxes off. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, terminal box. We'll bust it out real quick. There's 3 heads that I like. One I use more than the rest. One of them, because these are always on sale, they're a good bargain, good price. I don't know if that's not the right one. That's the shaky head. There it is. And it's your standard jig head. And you can get them in 3 colors. You can get them in this black, in a green pumpkin color, and then just a regular like lead color. Is the Bass Mooch Jiggy Wiggy Jig Head. Comes in a lot of sizes, a lot of shapes, and that hook already comes just a little bit angled downward, so you can keep more fish hooked, which I really like. So that's the first one. Whenever I just want like a standard jig head, or I'm usually throwing this when I'm throwing a bigger bait, like I'm throwing a fluke, or some of those baits that I'm going to talk about in a second that are over like 4.5 inches long. That's when I'm usually picking this head up. If I'm picking up a smaller bait like the could be, which we're going to talk about in a second, I'm usually going to pick up a VMC Neon Moon Eyes, I think is what it's called. This head has been universally used by a lot of people. 90-degree line tie, obviously. Sharp VMC hook on there. Keeps your bait in place. Has worked fantastic. Comes in a lot of sizes and a lot of colors. And it has that little eye on there. Makes it look a little bit more realistic. Now, whenever I'm throwing really light, or when I'm targeting schooling fish, with a jig head minnow, or I'm going really light, I want lightweight head, like less than 1/8 an ounce, and I want that bait to glide a little bit more naturally in clearer water, I pick up the Core Tackle Hover Rig head. You're able to rig this up on most baits, and it also comes in a variety of sizes, and it hides that lead really good for those clear water fish. So when those fish are in super clear water and they can see everything, it hides the lead of the head inside the bait, makes it look more natural. And it has a very good gliding motion as it falls. So for those schooling fish, things like that, it looks really good. Those are the heads that I like. Sizes, great universal size for me is a 3/8 ounce head. Fishing deep water, Hartwell, Lanier, Fontana, things like that, I'm gonna bump it up to a half. Like right now I have tied on a half size Neon Moon Eye because I was fishing Hartwell. It was the last time I was throwing this bait. And there were fish sitting in 30, 40 foot of water. So I was throwing that Neon Moon Eyes. Now, when I'm fishing shallower, a good rule of thumb is to go as light as you can without going too light. So you want that bait to get to the fish without those fish moving on quicker, but you want to be able to have a more natural fall to your bait. Now let's talk about baits. I'm going to get a few out here. I have a specified jig head minnow bag that I'm liking right now. That one. That one. And this one. And this one. Can't forget this one. All right. 4 baits. 4 different situations. Bass Mooch Could Be. The one we're going to talk about first. I made a whole video on this bait not too long ago. Slim bait, perfect for smaller herring, around the herring spawn, things like that, and also threadfin shad. Great smaller profile bait, and you can get this bait to cut from all the way to 4 inches, all the way down to like 2.5 if you want it to get that small. Now, this bait has a ton of tail action, a lot of action in the tail. So whenever this is my favorite bait from spring to fall. Whenever I'm targeting a little bit smaller bait, and I want a lot of action on that bait, and I want to fish it fast, this is the bait I'm going with 80% of the time because it fits a lot of situations really well. Because you can target smaller bait fish with it, a lot of action on the tail, and you can cut it down to any size that you may need. So if a fish is throwing up 2.5 inch threadfin, you can put that on. If a fish is throwing up 3.5 inch herring, you can make it 3.5 inches. Next, whenever they're targeting, so whenever I want more natural colors. So this is for when I'm fishing super clear water situations. So like a lot of herring lakes up here, they're really clear water. But after rains, this is not necessary. And that's the Z-Man jerk shads. The only problem I have with this bait is it's so hard to rig up, for 1, and 2, if that tail in that package gets any bent like it is now, it's not going to look right in the water. It's just like bends like a piece of paper, and it's annoying. Which, like, you can see how that tail is bending straight down. Like, I flip it upside down and it's still kind of bent. So it kind of messes with that action a little bit. But it's got that Elastec in there, super stretchy, and it's for, I only have 2 colors in this. It's this color, which is the electric shad color, and like a smoky color, for when I'm fishing super, like 10 foot of visibility, like Lake Kiwi only, clear water. But the majority of the time when I want a bait that small, I'm going with the could be. Now, bigger baits. Probably my favorite bigger bait, you've seen me throw this in some videos on Hartwell, targeting herring fish, is the Ducket Sway Minnow. I've absolutely loved this bait. It looks very similar to a winged fluke by Zoom because it has those little wings on there. But the tail, it's a straight tail with no, it's got a little, it's kind of flattened there on the end. And it comes in some really good colors. It's 4.5 inches long, and it has a really good roll whenever you're jigging this thing on a minnow, and it looks really good. It's probably my favorite bigger bait besides like this bait that I'm going to talk about next, because it just comes in 2 good sizes and the action is unbeatable when you're targeting bigger fish. And that's the drift fry. A lot of people know this bait, obviously. It's the Jackal drift fry. The biggest thing with this bait that sets it apart from so many, and also why it's so expensive, because this 5-pack of baits is $15 where I bought them. It's $3 of plastic. It's a tough plastic though, so you're gonna get it. It comes in really natural colors, and that lip gives it such a unique action, and it looks so natural, just like a minnow, just like a bait fish. And the action on it is incredible. But the smallest size it comes in is 4 inches. So this is really good for your bigger, when you're targeting bigger bait. So like gizzard shad and herring. Not really for, I don't know how big threadfin can get. I haven't done my research on threadfin, but from what I've seen, mostly threadfin are pretty small. So, but if you were able to get away throwing this bait, and when you're targeting big fish or bigger bait fish, I would throw it. Smaller bait fish looking for a ton of action in the spring, summer, and fall months when those fish are keyed in on bait fish, the could be is absolutely fantastic. Super clear water application. So when you're either up north in a super clear body of water or down here on like Lake Kiwi or something like that, throw the jerk shads. And then whenever you're targeting big fish, bigger bait, and you want a good roll, the Sway Minnow does it the best. Now, a couple tips that I have learned with a minnow that a lot of people don't know is a lot of people cast on top of fish whenever they're throwing a minnow. So that like they'll see them on the scope and they'll cast straight on top of those fish and let that bait sink down to right in front of them. I only do that when those fish are super deep, like 20 foot or plus, 20 foot plus deep. Like they got to be deep is when I'll do that. Otherwise, I'm going to throw beyond them, because if they splash when that bait hits the water, if they're a little bit higher in the water column, it'll scare those fish and spook those fish and they won't eat. So otherwise, I'm going to throw 20 foot beyond them if I can, and I'm going to jig it by them, above their head. Another big thing, make sure the bait is above their head. If that bait falls below those fish, almost guaranteed they're not going to touch it. Make sure that bait is above their head. And if you're using live scope, if you can see those fish start chasing your bait and being interested in your bait, move it faster. A lot of people like to kill that bait and move it slower because they think that's what's right. But really what you want to do is play cat and mouse. When those fish become interested, you want to move that bait quicker and quicker and quicker until they eat it. That's what causes a little bit of reaction bite for them, because a bait fish, whenever it flees, it doesn't slow down whenever the bass is behind him. It speeds up to try to get away. Those are the 3 biggest things that I see people make. But that is my jig head minnow setup. Tell me what setups you want to see me do in the comments. If you're interested, hey, I want you to do a jig setup. I want you to do a paddle tail swim bait setup. I want you to do a glide bait setup. I will get it done for you. So let me know what you want to see in the comments, and I will get it done, because if you're looking to go buy a setup, you can get it bought. But I will leave all the links for everything I was showing in this video, all the Bass Mooch and Level products, Zing products, and the other heads and minnows. I'll leave it all in the link in the description, so you can go pick up whatever you need. But that is all I have for you today's video. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like. That'd be greatly appreciated. Also hit the sub button if you're new, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.